Wow, he lives in a White House. It's really a beautiful house. I was just telling Chris, it's great because it's like, it just feels like you live here.
It's definitely home. This is about as orderly as it's been, mostly because we're not here very much.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg is the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. He's 37 years old, openly gay, happily married, a veteran who served in Afghanistan. He's a devout Christian, and he's running for president of the United States. I noticed that you guys don't have a TV here. Do you have a TV upstairs?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay.
We got our Game of Thrones fix last night. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
We don't want our living room to like revolve around a TV because we also, like on the trail, you spend so much time like this that it's nice to be home and just have a board game or a fireplace or a dog or something else to look at that isn't a screen.
If I went into the past, I'd go just 20 years back so I could find a teenage boy wondering how he could belong in this world. If I could put my arm around him and tell him that he would not only find belonging in his hometown, that he would have a hand in transforming the neighborhoods he knew as a boy. To tell him that one rainy April day, before he even turns 40, he'll wake up to headlines about whether he's rising too quickly into becoming a top-tier contender for the American president.
There are a lot of people, particularly people who are voting in the Democratic primary, who think that it's time for a woman president or would like another president of color. Why should we have another white male president?
So I'm explaining my case for the presidency in terms of what I seek to do with the office. There are lots of reasons why various candidacies are historic, and we can talk about the benefits that would come from having somebody who is different in that office, whether it be a white gay male or a straight woman of color or an African American male, whatever it is. All I can speak to is who I am and what I am and how that informs me. And I think each of us have that responsibility. There's a lot of disappointment which I share, that we didn't get a woman as president in 2016. Now it's 2020, we have a historically diverse field. That's a welcome thing, and it's a good reflection on our party.
So Pete is incredibly popular as a mayor, but Jack can help us put his track record here in context. He has covered every mayor of South Bend since the 1960s, and so he's a really good person to tell us, you know, whether he's really all he's cracked up to be.
I think all of the mayors that I have seen have been good people. There were clearly some problems after the Studebaker demise. Some of them ended up more as caretaker mayors rather than actually getting something done. The difference with Pete was that he came in with a different attitude, a determination to get something done, and he managed to do that.
The downtown economy in particular is something that Pete takes a lot of credit for because he changed the traffic directions and a lot of these sidewalks were widened, and he basically made it a big priority to bring more pedestrians downtown. Right now, because this is Easter Sunday, so there aren't very many people around. This is Mayor Pete's office.
You know, some of the best stories have an imperfect hero, someone who's made mistakes, who have had challenges, who's had to learn some lessons and overcome. When it came to running South Bend, you know, he was young and bright and had a lot of really good ideas, but maybe he didn't really have the lived experience, the ability to really connect with real people who have real issues and real problems that life hasn't dealt the best hand. I think that that's something he's just coming to understand.
It's because in so many ways, South Bend is our message. This is the story of a city that changed its future, changed its trajectory. And we did it through honesty, and we did it through decency. We didn't go around promising we could turn back the clock. I didn't go around saying only I can fix it.
Most people in South Bend say that Pete has done a great job of turning the city around, but there's also concern that Black and Hispanic residents haven't felt the same benefits of the economic turnaround in South Bend. That's something that could hurt Pete on the campaign trail as he seeks to make inroads with the Black and Hispanic voters he'll need to get the nomination.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Pete's marriage to Chasten is a big political asset because it allows him to position himself as a happily married, devoutly Christian family man who happens to be gay.
I was really nervous after our first date, after that first beer at Fiddler's, and then we walked down to the Cubs game, and I was so nervous that when we left that dinner, he would become someone different than I had saw on the opposite side of that table, and he's been the exact same guy ever since that first date. It has been wonderful watching him take care of his community.
Chasten has become a social media star for posting pictures of their 2 dogs and for generally just being a hilarious online presence. He also kind of helps to lighten Pete up a little bit because Pete can get a little serious. It's not just that Pete is the first openly gay person to run for president. It's that his marriage symbolizes what is politically possible in the United States of America.
I came out at a much younger age. I studied abroad in high school. It was the first time in my life I had friends who told me it was okay to be who I was. And by the time I came home from studying abroad, I was ready to come out. Being gay was not culturally acceptable where I grew up, mostly for a lack of understanding. And so my parents, my family, and I were just at a crossroads. There was a lot of hurt, and I wound up leaving home for a while. I slept on some friends' couches. I slept out of my car for a while, just trying to figure it out. And meanwhile, back home, my parents were doing a lot of soul searching. I'm very lucky that my parents took that time to ask questions and called me home. And I'm so grateful that they sought to understand.
How do you think for both of you the process of coming out in largely conservative communities has informed how you think of how people change their minds?
I think part of it's understanding, again, that all of us do or say things we might regret, and all of us can do better. You know, when I came out, some of the people who had traded in the most insulting, casual, homophobic humor in the military with me, for example, were among the very first to reach out and say, hey, I got your back, and I didn't know this, and I hope that I never hurt you. Unsolicited. It was amazing, actually. Which is why we got to get away from this kill switch mentality that we see. You know, you put one foot wrong or you say something inartfully, and you get this feedback that's like, I always liked you, but you said this one thing and now you're dead to me forever. Mm-hmm. This idea that we just sort people into baskets of good and evil ignores the central fact of human existence, which is that each of us is a basket of good and evil. And the job of politics is to summon the good and beat back the evil.